Hello students, today we will be starting our first online teaching for a construction management and entrepreneurship course. Today we will be dealing with the module 2 resource management. In the class we already completed the module 1. In that module we have studied about the management, first of all the definitions, the functions of the management, the importance of the management, the types of management and the different management techniques like critical path method, program evaluation and review techniques, and the different problems that we have solved and we have done with the network diagram problem also. Today we will be going to the resource management. First of all, what exactly resource management means? It is very important. See, the name itself says this is the management of the resources. Always when you want to construct any building or any dam, bridges, etc., the first important thing if you want to construct any of structures, we want the resources. It may be any kind of the resources. The subject name itself, the students, you can see there, this is the construction management and entrepreneurship. So this is regarding construction we are going to study. You have studied about the construction management also in the module B. So here you should focus on the resources which is required for the construction of any building which stands etc., which comes under civil engineering or which comes under construction. Nowadays, you know, it's very difficult to get the resources at a particular time. When you need that particular resource, it may not be available. That's why nowadays we have already discussed these things in the class also. We are going for the alternative resources. For example, a small example that I can give you. Nowadays, there is a problem with the sand. Sand, you know, for the concrete, it is very essential ingredient. It fills the holes or the pores so that your concrete strength will be increased. So you should think alternative for that also, because nowadays there is a big problem for getting the sand or the fine aggregate. You know the current situation. The government has banned in some of the places so that the sand mining cannot be take place. At that time, you cannot stop your construction. For that reason, you should find the alternative material. So for this, the management of the resources for your construction work, this module will give a brief idea about the resource management for all of us. Directly we will start with the first slide. The definition that you can see there, the resource management, RM means the resource management is the process of planning the resources necessary to meet the objectives of the project and to satisfy the client's requirement. Yes. When you're going to start or execute your project, on that day, whatever the resources that you want, that should be ready. Why? Because we already studied this in the first module. Here, for any project, we will going to plan a budget and a critical path, especially that you have studied. Critical path means it is the longest path so that you can complete your project. So if it is delayed by one day, your budget will going to increase so that you have to extra pay. In order to avoid this particular problem, we are going to plan the project prior to the execution only. So that whatever you want, for example, if it is a material, the fine aggregate, cement, coarse aggregate, whatever you want, that should be available on that day. How much we want, that you have to calculate, and that should be made ready. Not only the materials are enough. Here the resource management means it includes everything. Human resource, that is also very important. Labor management. In order to complete the work on time, you want the laborers, you want the engineers, you want the contractors. All this you want. Finally, the question, who will take care of all this that also we have already discussed. For any project, there will be one head called project manager. This project manager will going to deal with all this management, resource management or any other management, financial management, any other thing. So I am going to tell here, if you want to manage the resources, there should be a human resource, there should be a materials, and sometimes if you want to do construction activities, means you want so many equipment. So that equipment you have to hire or you have to buy, and you have to keep it ready for that day. So again, I'm telling students, we are going to study module 4 regarding engineering economics. There you will be going to understand, or you are going to find out whether it is feasible to buy equipment or whether it is feasible to hire the equipment. That is nothing but there are so many alternatives we are going to give. You will select the best alternative based on some of the methods for that particular project. However, the detail I will not tell in the module 2. However, you are going to study that and you will be going to solve so many problems, which is very, very important in the module 4, that is engineering economics. So the next point is, without proper resource management, the projects can fall behind the schedule or can become unprofitable. Yes, it is very important. Already I told, if that is not ready, you cannot execute your project 100%. See, if any one material is not ready, or if you have not stored it properly, for example, nowadays we are getting the problem of cement. If you are not storing that cement, what will happen, you know. If you give, or if you make it, if it is in contact with the atmosphere, it hardens and the lumps will create. That kind of cement will not be used for any construction work because the strength will going to decrease. So that's why everything you should plan well. That's why the management is very important. On that day, what you want, the materials, how much you want, the labors, how much you want, the different equipment, how much you want, and all the legal policies, everything that you should make ready, and you should complete the project as soon as possible. And one more very important thing, the, the different activities which comes under the critical path you have to complete, otherwise your budget will go. The main objective is to ensure the adequate and timely supply of the resources, while at the same time maximizing the utilization of the resources between the project. Yes. See, if you want any materials on next day, means you cannot make ready all those resources today. You have to priorly order, because you will not get in one day. You should manage. You should priorly plan. According to that, you should prepare a budget and you should find the estimated cost. Then finally, you should get that material. And if you want to start the work tomorrow, at least by today itself all should be ready, and even the workers or also should be ready. The construction resources may include products and materials. Yes, I told already, material management. So what and all the different materials you want for the construction. For example, if excavation work will be there, means if the excavation work is there, means what we want some uh, earth movers or the excavators we want, so that you should make it ready. And the labors we want, see, after doing the excavation you have to transport the material from one place to other place. That's why the human resources should be ready. And the plan you want, the different drawings, which is very, very important, that should be make it ready. And the construction plant, tool and equipment. Yes, so where exactly the construction is going on, there is a plan. For example, if you want to deal with this construction activities near to the construction site, there will be one concrete plant where you are going to manufacture your concrete, and you can supply that concrete to that particular site. And different tools, equipments, already you know whichever the tools, equipments you want, that you can make it ready and you can start the work. Human resources, yes, 100%. we already discussed this human resources also, the management is not that easy. The small example that I wanted to give here, see, we are talking about concrete technology and we have studied. There are so many textbooks also. And if you want to prepare a concrete or if you want to cast a concrete, you should go some, you should refer some guidelines from the IS 456 2000 and IS 2026 2009, and finally doing all basic tests of the different materials, and by following these guidelines and by doing trial and error mixes, finally you will get a proportion. And it's very difficult to implement those things in the site. Nobody will follow your water cement ratio, nobody will bother about the material quality. So you should manage this human resources. You should make them understand what is the importance of this concrete strength and all. So you should be a very responsible person at that time to manage all these things. Space and facilities. If you want to store all these things, you cannot store it in the construction site itself. You want some separate area for the storing of all these things. The contractors, the finance, yes, 100%. Unless and until if you don't have money to spend, you cannot start your project. So that sometimes you will be going to get loans from the bank, the owner of the property or the construction site. So that's for that also. If you want to get the finance, the drawing should be ready. You should produce the drawing, and step by step they will release the fund. All these things, information should be known. And regarding this resource management, what it will help you. So what type of resources are needed? So when you are going to plan, the project manager and the different engineer team, they should know, already they know what and all the required things for the construction. The first thing, what resources are needed, they will find it. What resources are available then? It's not only needed, if something if you're not getting, what you can do, you should go and you should think of other material. For example, if the sand is not available, you can go for M sand, manufactured sand. If some if you have a shortage of some aggregates, then you can think of some river pebbles or any other alternative materials for that. Cement, you have alternate material of fly ash, you can try for that. So all these combinations that you have, but the researches are going on and you can implement these things in the construction site. Where resources are located, it's very important. Why? Because the transportation cost also will add this. See, the project management is not at all easy. Why? Because each and every information that the project manager should know, then only he can plan. If we calculate some cost with the material, it will not help. Why? Because if he is not knowing where exactly the material is, it's a very problematic. Because the transportation cost also you should add for the budget. The ability to reschedule those resources accordingly, and so if you're not getting that resource, you should reschedule. Nowadays, the same problem you are getting, students, because of this corona effect. The whole education system, we are doing it in online, and the exams again. You're coming back to the college again. See these so whatever the timetable, the academic calendar, we should reschedule once again. So that is the problem. A resource management plan can be used to ensure the resource availability and resolve the resource conflict. Yes. Why the importance of this resource management plan? Because this ensures the resource availability. When you're going to plan, then you're going to find what and all the problems you will get, whether resources are available or whether we should go for the alternative resources and all. Optimize time, effort and cost. Everything, if you plan well, everything is ready, then your work will go and your work will complete on time. Ensure the workers with the right skills are available. Yes. Here the human resource management that we are talking about. see which kind of workers we want for that particular work. So right skilled workers we want for construction work, that it will ensure. Identify the limitations such as site access, weather conditions, and so on. Everything you should see. We cannot predict the weather. If you're doing your construction in the summer season also, sometimes if rain comes, that should be delayed. And nobody can help that. You should revise your budget and you should give. And if you want to manage and you want to manage a whole scenario with these effects, that's well and good. Otherwise, again, have to revise. The track resources utilization to avoid the excessive resourcing or underutilization. Yes, see, in the management, they'll clearly tell how much you have to use, how much quantity is required, the estimation, everything they have done. So accordingly, if you're going to spend means everything will be under control, the budget, the resources, all those things. This is a small list, the information about the required resources for each activity, the type of activity, is what type of the resources you want. If that question arises, means this is important. Which kind of activity is that? Based on that activity, we can decide the resources. Start date and duration, because see you're going to plan to have this much resource on that day. How many days of that particular work is going on? Based on that, they can estimate and they can calculate. Activity owner, who is the activity owner, also matters. Resource type and quantity required. Which kind of resource is that? See, sometimes you have to hire and you have to keep it for the future also. Sometimes the materials you have to hire and you have to keep it. Not everything. See, cement you can store it with the limited quantity. You cannot store it for the entire 1 month, 2 months, 6 months. If you want to store that, means the precautions that you have to take. Otherwise, the whole the material will waste. Because of that reason, is important. Source or supplier of each resources type, that you should find out and you should give order priorly. Equipment required, what kind of equipment you want for the particular work. Cost estimates for each of the resources to be supplied, that is also very, very important. Estimation of the cost. The risk mitigation, yeah, sometimes I told, right, you cannot predict your weather, you cannot predict the government policies. See, nowadays corona effect, we have not predicted anything like this, but now everyone are in their hope. This is some unimaginable situation, that type of risk that you should take. Today's we will end with this online, the first lecture we will end with this slide. The successful resource management requires, if you want to make the resource management successful, these are very important. Access to the up-to-date project plan with a clear definition of the different phases of work and activity scheduling. Already I told, you should be clearly knowing what activity is going on and what type of work is going on, for that what type of resources you want. Understanding the types of the resources that are needed, yes, which type of resources you want. Understanding the availability and optimum utilization of the resources. Yes, you cannot utilize the resources how much you want. That's why there will be a site engineer, or there will be a supervisor in the construction site who will take care of all those things according to the resource management plan. Understanding the potential for developing the resources for new users. Yes, if we utilize this much resources and if these much resources are there, you have to clearly plan to use those resources for the future work without wasting any resources. That's why that word is very important. Don't overuse, don't underuse also. Understanding of the lead time required to ensure that the resources are available when needed. So this is very important. At that particular time, we want all the resources which is required for the construction. By almost we have spent 15 to 20 minutes, and I hope that you have understand what and all I told in this small video lecture. And we will be going to I will be going to give my one more video lecture soon, and any clarification I already given my number in the Google Classroom also. Any doubts, any clarification, you can contact students. Thank you so much.